Here's the fact that tells you everything about the top of Anthropic's certification program. On its newest, hardest, most senior exam, a deeply technical paper about production AI systems, a full 14% isn't about technology at all. It's about talking to stakeholders, discovery meetings, trade-off conversations, expectation management, because at the professional tier, Anthropic is no longer certifying whether you can build the system. It's certifying whether you can own it end-to-end, including the conversations around it. This is the Claude Certified Architect professional tier, the capstone credential, the summit of the 4-exam program this series has been climbing, and the newest paper in it, launched just weeks ago with the first credentials barely issued. That newness is an opportunity. Right now, almost nobody holds it, the prep industry hasn't caught up, and the official exam guide is sitting there, free, with the whole blueprint published. Early holders of a scarce senior credential get remembered. This is also the final video of the series, and it completes the map, every exam in the program taught properly. Today, who the professional tier is for all 7 domains and their weights, including the trap that's now a running joke across 3 exams, the new territory this paper adds, retrieval pipelines, evaluation as a discipline, governance, and those stakeholder conversations, plus the 3 scenarios the exam guide itself shows you, a 4-week build plan and exam day. 1 video to finish the program, let's climb. Chapter 2, who this exam is for. Anthropic's profile is the most senior in the program. Solution architects, AI and machine learning engineers, technical leads, and senior software engineers who translate business problems into scalable Claude systems. The recommended experience, 3 or more years of systems architecture or platform engineering, plus at least 6 months of hands-on production work with Claude or comparable large language model systems. As everywhere in this program, recommended, not required. The credential is awarded on exam performance alone. But the deeper definition is a shift in what the questions assume. Foundations asked, given this system, what's the right architectural call? Professional asks, given this business problem, design the system, justify it, evaluate it, govern it, and carry the client through it. The unit of the exam is no longer the component or even the system. It's the engagement, from discovery meeting to monitoring dashboard. If Foundations certified the architect's hands, Professional certifies the architect's whole job. 3 portraits, a principal engineer who inherited a Claude deployment mid-flight and had to add the evaluation harness, the guardrails, and the paper trail it launched without. A consulting architect whose deliverable isn't code but a defensible design document and a room of aligned stakeholders. A platform lead who answers monthly for accuracy, latency, cost, and a compliance officer's questions, all 4 at once. If those days sound familiar or like the promotion you're working toward, this is your exam. Chapter 3, the exam at a glance. 63 questions, 120 minutes, and notice what that arithmetic means. Just under 2 minutes per question, the tightest time budget in the architect track, on the paper with the longest scenarios. Pacing matters here more than on any exam we've covered. The format brings back an old friend from the associate and developer papers, multiple choice and multiple response, with the number of correct answers always stated, so the Foundations exam's pure 1 of 4 format does not carry over. Scoring and logistics are the program standard, and by video 5 you can sing along. Scaled score, 100 to 1000, passing at 720, per domain percentages on the report. $175 per attempt, the program's premium price for its premium credential. Proctored through Pearson VUE, online or at a test center. 12 months validity, free on-time renewal through a lighter non-proctored assessment, full exam at full fee if it lapses, and the retake ladder, 14, 30, 90 days, 4 attempts per rolling year. Registration runs the series standard path through the Claude Partner Network and Partner Academy to Pearson VUE, and the version warning peaks here because this is the program's youngest exam. Guide version 1, effective this July, first credentials issued weeks ago. Blueprints move fastest when they're new. Everything in this video is checked against that version 1 guide. Your job before booking is 30 seconds of downloading the current one and confirming the weights still match. Free always. Chapter 4, 7 domains and a running joke reaches its punchline. Here's the blueprint heaviest first. Integration, 19%, the biggest slice. solution design and architecture, 17, evaluation, testing, and optimization, 16. Then Twin 14's governance, safety, and risk management and stakeholder communication and lifecycle management, Claude models, prompting, and context engineering, 13, and developer productivity and operational enablement, 7%. Read it like a strategist and 3 facts fall out. First, integration plus design plus evaluation is over half the exam, 52%, and that trio is the architect's core loop. Design it, wire it in, prove it works. Second, the Twin 14's governance and stakeholders are 28%, more than a quarter of the paper, and they're precisely where purely technical candidates bleed points, which is why this video gives them full chapters. And third, the punchline, Claude code. 3% on the developer exam, 20 on architect foundations, and now at the summit, 7. 3 exams, 3 different weights, 1 lesson sung in 3 keys. Study the blueprint you're actually sitting, not the tools you love. One more reading of the same table, what's genuinely NEW here? Retrieval augmented generation, RAG, chunking, indexing, retrieval strategy, appears in this program for the first time, inside the biggest domain. Evaluation graduates from a 2.6% afterthought on the developer paper to a 16% discipline. Compliance regimes get named, data protection, health data, government cloud, and stakeholder communication gets a domain of its own. The professional tier isn't foundations with harder questions, it's a wider job. And for the foundations veterans, the domain map in one breath. Agentic architecture, the old crown at 27, dissolves into design and integration here. Prompting slims from 20 to 13. Tool design and MCP fold into integration. Context management spreads across prompting and integration. And 3 domains have no foundations ancestor at all. Evaluation, governance, and stakeholders, 44% of this paper, almost half, is territory the foundations exam never walked. That number, more than any other, is why the summit gets its own full video. Chapter 5, From Foundations to Professional, the bridge chapter, because most of you arrived from the previous video. Good news first, everything transfers. The 8 laws still generate correct answers here, especially simplest first, enforcing code and scoped roles. The agentic patterns, the orchestration judgment, the context discipline, all assumed, all still scoring. Nothing you learn gets unlearned, it gets promoted. What changes is the altitude and the audience. Foundations put you inside a running system. Professional puts you at the whiteboard before it exists and in the review meeting after it ships. 4 new muscles carry the new weight. Retrieval, when the knowledge lives outside the model and how to pipe it in properly. Evaluation, proving quality with data instead of vibes. Governance, guardrails, humans in the loop, and regulators. And translation, turning architecture into language executives can fund and clients can trust. The next 7 chapters train exactly those muscles, domain by domain, in the guide's own order. One concrete tool for the transfer, watch how the laws get promoted. Law 1, simplest first becomes pattern selection, augmented model before workflow before agents. Law 2, enforcing code becomes the governance domain entire, guardrails, gates, compliance controls. Law 5, independent review becomes evaluation methodology. The grader is never the author. Law 8, scope to roles becomes least privilege and the capability bloat findings in integration. Same reflexes, bigger rooms. If the laws became instinct last video, half of this exam is already familiar. Chapter 6, Domain 1, Solution Design and Architecture, 17%. This is the whiteboard domain. A business problem walks in, and you leave with an end-to-end architecture, input, processing, output, and the part candidates forget, the feedback loop that makes it improve. Its first skill is the series' oldest instinct wearing its most senior suit, pattern selection. 3 patterns to choose among deliberately. The augmented language model, a single model plus retrieval plus tools, no loop, the right answer far more often than pride admits. The workflow, your code owns the path, model calls as steps for processes with known structure. And the agentic system, single or multi-agent for genuinely open-ended paths. The exam hands you a business problem and watches the choice, and Law 1 referees it. Match the pattern to the problem's actual shape, never to the most impressive diagram. Decomposition is the companion skill. big fuzzy goal into stages with defined handoffs, and if the multi-agent version appears, the coordinator wisdom from Foundations applies unchanged. The genuinely new note is business value. The guide names the pillars: efficiency, transformation, productivity, cost, and performance against service-level agreements. Professional tier questions dress architecture choices in these clothes. The client needs sub-second responses at peak load, or the goal is cutting review time in half. The scoring habit: read the business constraint first, because it usually eliminates two options before the technology even speaks. An architecture that misses its SLA isn't elegant, it's wrong. The exam lens: a firm wants client emails answered with knowledge from their document base. Volume is high, questions are repetitive, and answers must cite sources. Options: a multi-agent research system with a coordinator, an augmented model with retrieval over the document base, fine-tune a model on the documents, or a fully autonomous agent with web access. The multi-agent build and the autonomous agent are the overbuild twins. Law 1 strikes both. Fine-tuning bakes knowledge in stale and can't cite. The augmented model with retrieval matches the problem's shape: repetitive, grounded, citable, the simplest sufficient pattern, again and always. One more lens for the whiteboard domain, this time wearing the business pillars. Two designs meet the same functional need. Design A costs more and answers in under a second. Design B costs a third as much and answers in 4 to 6 seconds. The client's stated priority is cutting support costs, and the use case is internal staff lookups, not customer-facing chat. Which design and why? The trap is defaulting to faster is better. The scoring answer is B, because the stated business pillar is cost, and no service level demands sub-second responses for internal lookups. Then the professional flourish, the answer that also documents the trade-off and the threshold that would flip the decision score's highest of all. Constraints first, technology second, paper trail always. Chapter 7, Domain 2, Claude Models, Prompting and Context Engineering, 13% and the friendliest domain on the paper, because it's the series' greatest hits at professional altitude. Model selection by trade-off, you've drilled it. System prompts, templates, guardrail instructions, drilled. Zero-shot versus few-shot versus chain of thought. The professional twist is choosing between them. Few-shot when format consistency is the problem. Chain of thought when the reasoning itself needs scaffolding. Zero-shot when the task is simple and volume is huge and every extra token is money. The fresh material is reuse as an architectural strategy. Prompt caching from the developer paper, cheaper and faster on repeated prefixes, and here it's a design decision, not an optimization afterthought. Add modular prompts, shared components assembled per use case instead of 40 divergent copies, and skills, packaged capabilities that travel across sessions and teams. The exam-shaped judgment: when a scenario shows prompt sprawl, teams duplicating and drifting, the answer is a reuse architecture, not a style guide asking everyone to be careful. Structure beats discipline. It's Law 2's gentler cousin, and it scores the same way. The quick lens: 12 teams run variations of the same summarization prompt. Quality varies wildly and fixes made by one team never reach the others. Best move. Options: a style guide asking teams to align, a shared modular prompt library with cached common prefixes, versioned centrally, a bigger model to smooth over the differences, or weekly prompt review meetings. The style guide and the meetings are discipline where structure is needed. The bigger model is expense as apology. The shared library with caching fixes drift, cost, and latency in one architectural move, and it's what this domain means by reuse as strategy. Chapter 8, Domain 3, Integration, 19%, the heaviest domain on the paper, and the one carrying the series' biggest new topic. This is where your architecture meets everything that already exists: the data, the systems, the security model, and the monitoring screens. 4 territories inside it: retrieval pipelines, connection protocols, security, and observability. Territory 1, the headline: retrieval augmented generation. The model doesn't know your documents, so you retrieve the relevant pieces and hand them over at question time. The pipeline: documents are split into chunks. Chunks are indexed, typically as embeddings for meaning-based search, and at query time the best matches join the prompt. Every stage is an exam question. Chunking too small and answers lose their surrounding context, too large and retrieval gets noisy and expensive, and the scoring answer usually respects the document's natural structure, sections and paragraphs, not arbitrary equal slices. And the guide's own phrase to internalize, retrieval strategy matched to data shape. Semantic search for meaning, keyword search for exact identifiers, part numbers, error codes, case IDs, hybrid when the corpus serves both kinds of question. When a scenario says users search by exact code and retrieval keeps missing, pure semantic search is the planted culprit. Territory 2, connection protocols. The professional question is no longer what is MCP, it's when. MCP when a capability should be standardized and shared across applications and teams. A direct API or command line integration when it's one system talking to one service, and agent-to-agent protocols when independent agents must collaborate across boundaries. Alongside it, a beautiful pair of trade-off dials the guide names outright: accuracy versus latency and progressive discovery versus monolithic context, load tools and knowledge as needed for a lane, adaptive system, or front-load everything for predictability at a token cost. There is no universally right setting. There is a right setting per scenario, and the constraint in the question tells you which. Territories 3 and 4, quickly but pointedly. Security, authentication, and authorization analysis, where the exam's favorite finding is the overpermissioned integration, and capability bloat, the agent accumulating tools it doesn't need, which is Law 8, scope to roles, now with an enterprise badge and an audit finding. And observability at scale, when thousands of daily calls flow through the system, the answer to what happened is logging, tracing, and monitoring you designed in advance, never a promise to check manually. If a scenario shows a production mystery and no instrumentation, the instrumentation is the answer. The exam lens, a support knowledge assistant, retrieves beautifully for conceptual questions, but keeps failing when agents search by exact error code. Options increase the number of retrieved chunks, switch to hybrid retrieval combining semantic and keyword search, move to a bigger model, or re-chunk the corpus into smaller pieces. More chunks adds noise around the same miss. The bigger model can't retrieve what search didn't find, true but irrelevant in a lab coat. Smaller chunks treat the wrong stage. Hybrid retrieval matches the strategy to the data shape. Exact identifiers demand keyword search in the mix. The guide literally tells you it loves this question. Believe it. And the security lens straight from the guide's illustrated themes. An internal assistant that summarizes documents has, over a year, accumulated tools for email, calendar access, ticket creation, and a database write connection nobody remembers adding. A security review flags it, first move. Options add a system prompt instructing careful tool use, remove every tool not required by the summarization role, rotate the credentials on the database connection, or add monitoring on tool calls. The prompt instruction is Law 2's named failure. Rotation and monitoring are true and useful and don't shrink the attack surface, supporting acts, not the fix. Strip the toolset to the role, least privilege, capability bloat reversed, Law 8 receiving its enterprise badge in writing. Chapter 9, Domain 4, Evaluation, Testing and Optimization, 16% and the biggest promotion in the program, 2.6% on the developer paper, a full discipline here. The core sentence, quality is measured, not vibed, and at professional tier, you design the measurement. Metrics come in 5 families and the exam expects all 5 on your dashboard: accuracy, latency, cost, safety, and security. A system evaluated on accuracy alone is a system with 4 blind spots. The machinery, evaluation datasets, golden sets with known good answers, built to cover the hard cases, not just the happy path and mixed methodologies, because different qualities need different judges. Exact checks for extractions, rubric scoring for pros, humans for judgment calls, and model-graded evaluation where scale demands it, with Law 5 whispering that the grader shouldn't be the author. A/B testing carries changes into production. Run the new prompt or model against the old on real traffic, compare on the metric families, promote the winner. The anti-pattern the exam plants everywhere, shipping a prompt change because it looked better on 3 tries. Then diagnosis, the guide's own taxonomy. Is the failure a prompt failure, unclear instructions, missing examples, a hallucination, ungrounded content that retrieval or grounding should fix, or a model mismatch, a task above the tier's ceiling or below its price point. 3 causes, 3 completely different fixes, and the distractors always treat one as another, a bigger model for what's really a prompt gap, a sterner prompt for what's really missing retrieval. Optimization closes the loop with the developer paper's cost levers, caching, batching, right-sizing, output caps, now with a latency column added. Diagnose first, then reach. Some instincts survive every altitude. The exam lens, after a model upgrade, a document pipeline's outputs feel different, and the team argues from anecdotes. What settles it? Options: roll back immediately, run the golden evaluation set against both versions and compare per metric, ask the team to vote, or add instructions telling the model to behave like the old one. The rollback is the extremist without evidence. The vote institutionalizes vibes. The behave like before prompt is a wish. The golden set answers with data, per metric family, in an afternoon. Evaluation infrastructure exists precisely so that upgrades are decisions, not debates. One more on diagnosis. A contract analysis system confidently cites clause numbers that don't exist in the source documents. Classify and fix. Options: prompt failure, add clearer instructions. Hallucination, add retrieval grounding and require citations to be validated against the source. Model mismatch, upgrade the tier. Or latency issue, add caching. The invented clause numbers are ungrounded content, the definition of hallucination, and the fix lives in grounding plus validation, not in instructions the model will earnestly ignore at the worst moment, and not in a bigger model that fabricates with better grammar. Name the cause correctly and the fix picks itself. That single habit is worth several questions across this domain. Chapter 10, Domain 5, Governance, Safety, and Risk Management, 14%, the first of the twin 14s, and the associate video's conscience returning with enforcement powers. 4 pillars: guardrails, failure mode thinking, humans in the loop, and compliance. The through line is a law you already own. Critical rules live in code and process, never in hope. Guardrails at this tier are layered systems. Input validation before the model, output checks after it, 2-level gates around anything consequential, and monitoring across all of it. Failure mode thinking is the architect's pre-mortem. What does this system do when retrieval returns nothing, when the model fabricates, when an injection arrives, when load spikes, and the exam rewards designs that answer those questions over designs that hope? Human in the loop is a placement decision. Not everywhere that drowns the humans, but at the consequential and irreversible points: hiring, money, medical, legal, exactly the instinct the associate video taught, now drawn as an architecture diagram. Compliance names names: data protection law for personal data, health data rules, government cloud requirements. The exam expectation is architect-level awareness, not attorney-level detail. Know that personal data triggers residency, minimization, and deletion duties, that health data constrains where information flows and who sees it, that government work constrains infrastructure choices, and know that the scoring answer routes through the org's counsel and compliance function rather than improvising. Add the ethics trio: bias, fairness, transparency, tested as design duties, evaluate for bias, document limitations honestly, disclose the machine's role. Governance, the exam keeps insisting, is not the Department of No, it's the reason the system is still running next year. The exam lens, a Claude-based screening assistant, will summarize job applications for recruiters at a company subject to strict data protection law. Choose 2 design requirements. Options: humans make all hiring decisions with the assistant advisory only. Auto-reject the weakest applications to save recruiter time. Minimize and protect personal data flowing through the system per policy, and store full applications indefinitely to improve the model later. Auto-rejection hands a consequential human decision to the machine, the brightest line in the book. Indefinite retention is a data protection violation wearing an optimization costume. Advisory only plus data minimization, the pair that survives any audit. 2 videos later, the associate's brightest line still decides questions. Chapter 11, Domain 6, Stakeholder Communication and Lifecycle Management, 14%, the domain that surprised everyone, and the one where technical candidates quietly lose a 7th of the exam. The premise is blunt: at professional tier, an architecture that can't be explained, funded, and maintained doesn't exist. The questions put you in rooms, discovery meetings, design reviews, escalation calls, and score how you communicate. The skills in the guide's own arc: structured discovery, requirements gathered by design, users, data, constraints, success criteria, service levels before architecture is drawn, and the exam's wrong answers start building in the first meeting. Communicating decisions and trade-offs: the scoring register is honest and specific. This option costs more and halves latency. That one is cheaper and slower, picked by your peak hour requirement, never overpromising, never hiding a limitation a stakeholder will later find. Expectation management around service levels, commitments in numbers, feedback loops that catch drift early, and documentation as a first-class deliverable. Architecture records, decision rationale, implementation guidance, the paper trail that survives you leaving. One memorable test for any communication answer on this paper: would you be comfortable if the client reread it in 6 months after the first incident? The scoring answers always survive that rereading. Lifecycle management frames it all: discovery, design, handoff, monitoring, iteration, and the exam's favorite trick here is the question set at the wrong phase. A team debating architecture during handoff or discovering requirements during monitoring. The scoring instinct is knowing what each phase owes the next. Discovery owes design its constraints, design owes handoff its documentation, handoff owes monitoring its dashboards, monitoring owes iteration its findings. A professional system isn't launched. It's operated, and this domain certifies the operator's judgment as much as the builder's. The exam lens: mid-project, a client executive asks for a firm guarantee of perfect accuracy before approving launch. Best response. Options: guarantee it to keep the project moving, explain the system's measured accuracy, the review process for consequential outputs, and agree monitored thresholds with an escalation path. Add a disclaimer to every output and call it handled, or refuse to discuss accuracy as unknowable. The guarantee is a lie with a timeline. The blanket disclaimer treats communication as liability management. The refusal abandons the room. The measured answer, numbers, process, thresholds, agreement, is what expectation management actually looks like, and it's 14% of the summit. Chapter 12, Domain 7, Developer Productivity and Operational Enablement, 7%, the smallest domain, and the punchline lands. Claude Code's third appearance, third different weight. What the professional tier wants from it is the platform VUE built in the Architect Foundations video, 1 octave up. Configure the tools and environments for teams, project-level configuration and version control, standards that new engineers inherit automatically, and use AI-assisted tooling to improve the team's workflows, including supporting debugging and operational issue resolution when production misbehaves. If you did the Foundations chapter properly, this is 7% of review. Budget it accordingly, which is to say, barely, and the running joke retires with a moral: the blueprint is the price list. It was true 3 exams ago, and it's true at the summit. Chapter 13, 3 scenarios the guide shows you because the version 1 exam guide does something generous. It includes illustrative scenario items, and the 3 themes it chose to illustrate are a message about what this exam loves. Theme 1, least privilege. An integration or agent holding more access than its role requires, and the correct answer trims the permission surface. Law 8 with a security badge, exactly as we drilled in the integration chapter. Theme 2, prompt caching, chosen as a latency and cost lever. The exam guide is telling you it prices this dial, so when repeated context appears in a scenario, caching should already be in your hand. Theme 3, RAG retrieval failures, the diagnosis family from our integration lens. Retrieval missing what it should find, and the fix living at the correct stage, strategy, chunking, or indexing, matched to the data's shape. 3 published themes, 3 chapters of this video, 0 coincidence. When an exam guide shows you its example questions, it isn't decorating, it's confessing. Read the current guide's illustrations the week you sit, and treat each one as a signed hint about the real paper. And beyond the guide's own 3, the patterns this video bets you'll meet, collected in one place. The multiple response return, count stated, trust them exactly. The business constraint that eliminates options before the technology speaks. The 3-cause diagnosis taxonomy, prompt failure, hallucination, model mismatch, never treat one as another. The progressive versus monolithic context dial, priced in tokens and predictability. And the lifecycle phase question, where the right action depends on which phase the scenario is standing in. 5 patterns, cheap to hold, expensive to miss. Chapter 14, your free study stack, the series philosophy one final time. The fee is the only mandatory cost. 4 pieces. The official exam guide version 1 with its published weights, task statements, and those confessional example items, read twice, syllabus then checklist. The official documentation, now including the retrieval and embeddings guidance alongside the agent SDK, Claude code, and MCP material you know, plus Anthropic's published engineering guidance on building effective agents and on evaluations. Your Architect Foundations preparation, which overlaps heavily with the agentic and integration halves of this paper. If you skipped that video, it's the assumed floor. And the centerpiece, one real end-to-end build, because this exam's new domains, retrieval, evaluation, governance, stakeholder artifacts, only turn into reflexes when you've shipped them once, even in miniature. The 4-week plan makes that concrete. And the dumps verdict one last time for the newest exam with the freshest question pool, against the rules and even more wrong than usual. Chapter 15, the 4-week summit plan, 5 to 6 focused hours a week, organized around one project you'll build and then professionalize. A document question answering service for a fictional client, with real requirements you write down first. It sounds humble. By week 4, it will have touched all 7 domains, because that's what professionalizing means. Week 1, discovery and design. Read the exam guide end to end, rate yourself across all 7 domains, then play both sides of a discovery meeting. Write the client's requirements, users, data, constraints, success criteria, a latency target, then design the architecture against them, choosing among augmented model, workflow, and agentic, and writing 1 page of decision rationale. That page is domain 6 earning points already. Week 2, build the retrieval core. Chunk a small document set respecting its structure, index it, wire retrieval into the prompt, and then deliberately break it. Search for an exact identifier and watch semantic retrieval miss, then fix it with hybrid strategy. Add caching to the stable prefix and note the latency change. That's the 19% domain, hands-on. Week 3, prove it and govern it. Build a golden set of 20 questions with known answers, score the system on accuracy, latency, and cost, change something, chunking, model tier, prompt, and let the numbers decide, your first A/B instinct. Then add the governance layer, an input check and output check, 1 human review gate at the consequential point, and a paragraph on limitations, honestly written, which is the ethics requirement in miniature. Week 4, rehearse the summit. Reread the guide as a checklist, write the architecture document a client would receive, drill practice questions with the tightened clock under 2 minutes each, weakest domain gets the final hours, and book while the build is fresh. 1 project, 4 weeks, 7 domains. The summit plan complete. If any single week runs long, protect week 2 and week 3. The build weeks are where the new domains become memory. Chapter 16, exam day at the summit. Logistics, series standard, system check the day before on the real machine, quiet room, clear desk, identification, workspace photos, no notes, fragile home setup, book a test center. The pacing is this paper's edge, 63 questions, 120 minutes under 2 minutes each against the longest scenarios in the program, so the flag and move discipline is now survival. First pass through everything, answer everything, second pass for the flags with whatever remains. Inside the questions, the full series arsenal, 1 last deployment, the species, extremist, symptom treater, true but irrelevant, overbuild, the laws as the positive filter, simplest sufficient pattern, enforcement in code, scoped permissions. The professional additions, read the business constraint first, it eliminates options before the technology speaks, check which lifecycle phase you're standing in, and on multiple response, trust the stated count exactly. When 2 answers survive, the professional tiebreaker is almost always the constraint, the service level, the regulation, the budget line, the stakeholder in the room. And afterwards, for the last time in this series, pass and the summit badge lands, 12-month clock, free on-time renewal, calendar it, and you hold the scarcest credential in the program at the moment it's scarcest. Not this time. The domain report tells you which of 7 areas to shore up, 14 days to the retake window, 4 attempts a year, a delay and never a verdict. Either way, you'll have prepared against the sharpest blueprint Anthropic has published, and that preparation, the retrieval instincts, the evaluation discipline, the governance reflexes, the stakeholder craft, is yours regardless of what the scaled score says. And that completes the map. 5 videos, the overview of the whole program, the associate for the professionals, the developer for the builders, architect foundations for the designers, and today, the professional for the people who own the whole thing. Every exam, every domain, every weight, every trap taught from the official guides, independently, honestly, and for free, the way this series promised at the start. Whatever your role, the path is on this channel now. Pick your exam, follow its video, build the small things it tells you to build, and walk in over-prepared by design. The dated study checklist for this exam is in the description, and the full series lives in the Claude Certified playlist. The program will grow, exams evolve, new tiers will come, and when they do, this series grows with it. Subscribing is how the next blueprint reaches you on day 1. If this series carried you towards certified, or just made a confusing new program make sense, a like on this finale tells the algorithm to show the map to the next person standing where you stood. Thank you for climbing all 5 with me. We're building AI up from the ground, one blueprint at a time. I'll see you in the next one.